Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and this is the final in our 4 special episode series with the artists who are performing at KCCK's Jazz Under the Stars. We reached the end of our concert season this coming week, and it's my pleasure to have the two leaders of the Iowa Women's Jazz Orchestra with me today. Toni Lefebvre. Toni, thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you.
And Kelli Swehla. Hi, Kelli.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Yeah, very excited about this concert, which is kind of 2 years in the making. We had you all set up for 2020, and then we thought we were going to be able to get a COVID-era concert, and then giant windstorm, and we just went back to the drawing board. But looks like we're going to be able to finally make this happen. So, Toni, for those who aren't familiar with the Iowa IWJO, tell me how the band got started.
So we got started in 2017. I was doing my master's degree in music education at the University of Iowa, and my research area that I had significant interest in was the topic of women in jazz. And Dr. Erin Weir, who was formerly a professor at the University of Iowa, that was her research area. And so we kind of just got this idea knowing that Iowa is such a special place for jazz education and jazz performance to get something like this going, to sort of inspire the students in our state and just make sure that our research was being noticed.
So for decades, of course, the jazz bandstand was just for men.
Yes.
With the occasional woman singer, and every now and again you'd have a Melba Liston or somebody who would break through, but those were definitely unicorn type things. So tell me about the experience that each of you had in, going through, music education, jazz band in particular. Was it hard? Was it supportive? Kelli, would you start?
Yeah, I mean, I'm homegrown here. I went to Prairie High School and had a good jazz experience there, and then went to Northern Iowa, as a lot of us did. I wouldn't say it was as difficult from I didn't feel outward prejudices immediately. It was more sort of looking back and realizing I went through this and I didn't realize that maybe this was happening or these things were happening. And for me personally, as you grow older, as females in jazz bands do, you kind of see other female friends leave, and to be someone that sticks with it, you kind of realize, oh, it's me and like 15 other guys and maybe 1 or 2 other girls are in the band, and kind of wondered why that always was happening, right? Even as a high school kid, why was I being selected over someone, or why were the guys being selected over someone? Was it just playing ability, or was it something else at work? So for me, it wasn't something I picked up on to a great degree, other than I just noticed it when I was younger. And it was always kind of sad to me when, I would see, friends that happened to be female would sort of leave jazz bands. And I think a lot of that had to do with intimidation, and myself, I experienced that as well. Just you're playing, and I feel like whether it's real or perceived, there's a judgment there about whether or not a female can do as well as a man. And so that's what our mission is, I think, is just to kind of prove to not just ourselves or our community, but prove to those young girls that are in middle school jazz bands or younger or whatever, like, it's okay to keep going, and we don't necessarily have to compare ourselves to anybody else. It's just like keep learning, keep growing, and keep searching out those experiences.
Toni, what do you recall about being a young player in school?
Yeah, I had a similar experience, and I think it took me getting to the point and researching the reasoning behind this as a master's student, where it just totally resonated why some of the fears I had or the hesitancies I had occurred. So I just remember when I was a freshman in high school, it took me until the night before my jazz band auditions to decide that I was going to audition, because I just didn't think it was a space for me. I didn't see women playing jazz, and I didn't know that was something that I could do or should do. And you know what? The same exact thing happened before my freshman year at the University of Northern Iowa. It took me until the night before to audition for the UNI jazz bands. I just didn't see many people that looked like me going on beyond that point. So those hesitancies are very valid, and we just but we want to sort of take that away and, let students know that girls belong on the jazz band stage and your voice deserves to be heard, and it is unique and it is perfect.
It's you both are teachers. Kelli is you're at Xavier, and Toni, you're at LaSalle.
Yep.
In Cedar Rapids. So both of you are educators, and there have always been, many female band directors at the middle school and the high school level. So we've always had those models, but there is a difference between being the teacher in the classroom and being the player on the jazz band stage. And that's really what the IWJO is for. It's to model that behavior in an environment that maybe girls particularly don't get to see very much.
Exactly right. And I would say, even going through the ed program at UNI, it was just kind of one of those things you sort of felt as a music ed person, through no fault of any particular one person, but being a female going through that program, you kind of felt like, I'm supposed to be an elementary teacher, I'm supposed to be a middle school teacher, and I'm teaching high school. There aren't many female jazz band directors or band directors out there who are teaching high school or teaching competitive programs at the high school level,
And precious few women jazz professors in college.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it runs deep. I mean, it's not something that, we're not going to hopefully stop on this at any point. We're hopefully in 50 or 100 years, we're having a different conversation. But it's everywhere, and I again, there are so many supportive men out there who are so supportive of the cause, and I don't want to turn this conversation into something where we're against them or anybody in particular. It's just kind of how society has developed, and we're just trying to change the narrative a little bit and encourage those young girls to keep playing.
Tell me, who is in the IWJO? Because you pull from all over the state.
We do, yes. So Jazz Under the Stars edition of IWJO. You want me to run down the whole band?
Yep,
All
we
right.
have nothing but time to talk about musicians.
Lots of faces and people we will recognize. So Alto 1, Jen Teedy. Do you want me to say anything about like what they do or they teach?
If they teach where they teach or or what their background is.
Yeah, so Jen Teedy teaches at Linn-Mar High School. Alto 2 is Eva Anderson, and she's from Cedar Rapids as well, and she now reports and does journalism and news reporting in the Des Moines area. Tenor 1 is Lynn Hart, who she teaches at Luther College, but also runs an extensive saxophone studio here and extensive playing schedule as well. And then tenor 2 is Jill Doble. She teaches in Mason City. And then our Barry player is Stella Hart, and she is just phenomenal to work with.
Yeah. I'll do the trumpet section since I know them okay. Emma Cryer and Toni Lefebvre here split the lead book, and they split lead and fourth. And then I'm playing second book, and our good friend Leah Schmidt is playing third trumpet.
And then trombones, we have got Juliana Carl, who is a former Xavier student. And we've got Stephanie Williamson, who now teaches at Kennedy High School. We've got Maggie Kremers, who is a UNI student. She just graduated recently from City High in Iowa City. And then Kirsten Truax is playing lead trombone, and she teaches now in Jessup. It's going to be, I think, her first year of teaching.
Yeah, and in the rhythm section, we have Gail Williams on the piano. And she's just a community member that's been around a long time. And Anna Cook, who is on the guitar. She's a City High grad and
heading to the University of Iowa, or maybe has been there for a year.
Something like that. Yeah. It all runs together, especially with the COVID year and all of that.
Yeah, for sure.
We have Crystal Rebone on bass, who's newly back to the area, and Farron Johnson on drums.
Now, Krista on bass, she is, like I said, she is new back to the area. But was somebody telling me that she did some performances with the Diva Big Band?
Toni would probably know that better than me.
I did. I don't know if she did.
Oh.
It's very possible that she did, though.
She could have.
She is just,
she's amazing.
First rehearsal that Crystal was with us. We were just blown away. She's phenomenal to play with, and just sort of keeps our group going all the time, which is awesome.
Well, and the other thing is you've also got a range of ages. You've got professionals who've been playing and teaching for a long time, and then you've got some recent high school and college graduates as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that intentional?
I'm not sure if it was intentional, like personnel selection initially, but the way that, I don't know, it kind of just feels like we're all there for the same mission.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was something that her and I
Yeah.
talked about before we assembled the group, but we definitely like the mix, and I think it's important to have a mix of people that are the cross section of what we are, and that way whoever's watching maybe can relate or identify with us on stage.
And I need to go back. Toni, did you do some dates with the Diva Big Band?
I did. I subbed with them when their lead trumpet player was in some basic training. So for about a year and a
Nice.
half, yeah.
So that's
It's good times.
in a way, that's kind of the model that that the IWJO is designed after. And I think most of our listeners know the Diva Big Band, which is the all-female big band that travels nationally. That had to be some pretty deep water.
It was fun. So actually, I'll just tell a quick story about how that hooked up. The first time that the Iowa Women's Jazz Orchestra performed publicly was at the IBA conference in 2000. That must have been 2018. And that was when Sherry Miracle and Alexa Tarantino were directing the all-state jazz bands. And so it was crazy to have us there doing our thing, and they came and checked out our rehearsal the night before, and it was just cool to have them there and hook some of that stuff up.
And this is, so you've done just very few gigs at the like the IBA, some band contests and festivals. Is this kind of your first full length, show with an intermission and all the charts?
It's definitely the longest show that we've prepared for. I think many of the gigs that we've done in the past have been in front of the target audience of high school and middle school students. So we played at like jazz festivals where, students might be playing and putting on performances with their band, and then as sort of like an intermission throughout the day before the evening competition or whatever, we are there playing for them. But yeah, this is a big one. So we're very, very excited.
So now I don't want to have any spoilers, but tell me a little bit about the charts, special guests, anything that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, I want to add someone to our personnel list quick too, and that's our vocalist, Ellie Hoffmeyer. And she does she runs her own bands too. And I met up with her when she was singing with Johnson County Landmark at the University of Iowa, and she is a powerhouse, and she's just the coolest, and she'll be featured singing several pieces with us on our show. And then, Kelli, you want to talk about our other guest?
Yeah, so my band, I can't even remember, this must have been just before COVID hit. We did a tango tune with Todd Munich on accordion.
Yes, that was for the Corridor Jazz. I remember it well.
That's correct. Yeah. And so we were programming and looking through charts and decided that tune would be really fun for us to do. And so Todd's going to join us on stage once again as our accordion feature.
In the unaccustomed slot of being in the minority.
Yes. And not in the minority just from gender, but also because he's holding the accordion.
Accordion.
Yes.
Yeah. He is kind of a double minority, isn't
yes,
he?
But he's fantastic at what he does, and we're very excited to have him join us.
Yeah, that was very fun. I really enjoyed hearing him on that tune, and it'll be fun hearing it played again. So where we talk about repertoire, do you kind of go into the standard, big band repertoire, charts and tunes and arrangements that we might know, or do you dive into some different stuff?
You really want all our secrets, don't you?
Just kidding. just give me a hint.
No, yeah. I think that we have put together just a really versatile 2 sets for the show. There's definitely some standards in there, pieces that people will recognize. We've got some tangos, some Latin pieces. We've got some sort of new age, some rock pieces. It's really just a well-mixed set, I think. We spent a lot of time on it, and I also want to give Jen Teedy a shout out too, because she helped us with some of the programming as well. So, say anything else about that?
Yeah, I mean, you say the word standards, and I know what you mean by that, but I think our goal was to try to find things that were recognizable, but also not just feature the traditional standards, so to speak. We wanted to find female composers. We wanted to find a wide variety of things that we thought were standards impact, in terms of how great they were as pieces, but maybe not necessarily always, the straight ahead Duke Ellingtons or the whatever that we might normally program. So we've got some Mary Lou Williams in there. We've got some Patty Darling in there. We've got several arrangements that Lynn has done for us, our lead tenor. So we've got a wide mix, like Toni said, and we're looking forward to it.
It's the Iowa Women's Jazz Orchestra closing out Jazz Under the Stars, coming up Thursday, the 26th. Knoll Ridge Park. Some years we are in McGrath Amphitheater for our final concert. Not this year because there was a conflict. So you'll be in the OG Jazz Under the Stars arrangement right there in Knoll Ridge Park. Our concerts so far have just been a delight, and I am really excited to have you here. Just apocryphally, I haven't done the research, Toni, like you've done, but Kelli knows. Well, you both know that we started doing this jazz band camp some years ago, and I think we just finished up year 14 or something like that for middle school students, and I always noticed that we were about 60-40 women to men, young women to young men in jazz band camp. But then I would see the bands in high school, and it would be, maybe 20%. And I have always thought to myself, where did the girls go? Why can't we keep them involved? And I think that this effort and this initiative is huge toward making sure that young women can see themselves not only moving into jazz education, but also moving into performing. So I just really applaud you for it.
Well, thank you so much. That's our mission, 100%. And if we never make $1, playing in this group, that's okay with us. We really just want to make sure that these young girls and young women, as you say, are looking up and saying, it's possible to keep doing this, and not just possible, but we can be pretty good too. So
it's Jazz Under the Stars, the concluding concert with the Iowa Women's Jazz Orchestra, coming up Thursday at 7 in Knoll Ridge Park. I'm really looking forward to it, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dennis.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or however you get your podcasts. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.